You're listening to the Courting Happiness podcast. This is a place where self-care becomes part of your day, a space where you learn evidence-based strategies to help your life, share it with those you love, and cultivate well-being at work. I'm your host, Dr. Kortni Alston. I'm a former news director, television reporter, turned happiness scholar, TEDx speaker, and transformational trainer. I also understand hardships. While working my dream job in television, I lived a nightmare of suddenly becoming a young widow after 86 days of marriage. I became committed to learning more about resilience, healing, and happiness. This is how I discovered my area of research, which is positive psychology. Now I'm living my calling of training individuals and organizations on happiness, and my new chapter begins with being happily engaged. The Courting Happiness is about a true courtship, I like to say, commitment with happiness. The K in courting stands for the vulnerability of sharing my story, inspirational interviews with phenomenal people, the infusion of positive psychology, and so much more. You'll learn how to commit to your well-being one episode at a time. I hope you subscribe and share. So, are you ready? Let's get started. Welcome to episode 28. Thank you so much for listening. So today, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about how to make your goals a reality. But I'm super excited. And I'm going to try to calm my excitement down. Many of you guys know that I wear it, right? You hear it, I wear it. Plus, the reason why I'm super excited is because I have an announcement. I am going to share how one of my dreams have become reality. And when I share it with you, your self-care routine will thank you for it. So I'm so super excited to be able to share that with you. I don't even think I can speak because I'm so excited. So let's get started talking about this episode, right? How to make your goals reality. So Dr. Jade Wu has an insightful article, and it's titled 4 Psychological Tricks to Reach Your Goals and 4 Hacks that will help you reach them opposed to abandoning them. This article is phenomenal, and I wanted to share it with you today because it really helps in terms of really kind of helping you develop your game plan, your strategy, so to speak. And so let's talk about it in terms of some of the things that she shared. And then I want you to think about as I'm sharing some of these tips that she has really done a wonderful job in this article in terms of crafting. But think about how this can apply to you, how it inspires you, how you can kind of translate it for you, right? In terms of your goals to help make your goals a reality. I love these hacks that she shared. Many of them I've done. And so I was like, wow, this is great. But I really love, I will say this, that I also love how she has kind of crafted it. So in terms of bringing it all together. So, and I love that she calls them hacks, right? It's like, okay, what are these hacks that we can leverage, we can utilize to help us in terms of reaching our goals? So this is the first one. The first hack, she says, set a learning goal instead of a performance goal. Set a learning goal instead of a performance goal. So when we set goals, we might say, okay, I like to lose 20 pounds, right? Another might be running a marathon or getting a promotion at work. So Dr. Wu says this, and I'm going to quote her. She says, quote, "These goals are specific and concrete. That's good, but research shows that setting long-term performance goals based on achievement outcomes may not be as effective as setting goals for new skills you want to learn." End quote. I love that she shared it that way. I love that she shared it specifically this way, because as a professor, as many of you know, I'm also a college professor. On top of being a trainer and a scholar, I am a college professor, and I teach journalism and mass communications with students. And you know, every semester, every class that I teach, it could be a broadcast class, it could be a management class, it can be public relations class, it can be any class within communication that I'm teaching. I always have an orientation. And the orientation within my class structure is the power of mindset. And so students learn about Dr. Carol Dweck, who has really has some incredible TED Talks, by the way, guys. Check her out, Dr. Carol Dweck. And they understand the difference because she's one of the leading scholars as relates to sharing this information and really really allowing us to dig deeper and to understand the dynamics. And it's really about also understanding the level of growth mindset and fixed mindset. So they learn about the value of the growth mindset. It's really to value the process. And it's interesting because I ask students, what is success to you? And then I ask, what is success to you as it relates to this class? Of course, some of them say, yeah, I want to get an A. I want to get an A. And so we talk about that. We talk about that in the classroom in terms of not being focused so much on the A, but valuing the process of learning. Think about it. Not being so focused on, okay, I want an A, but being very super focused and valuing the process. And so with saying that, in terms of, valuing the process of learning and understanding that you're going to be learning new things, that you're going to be challenging yourself. I'm going to be challenging you as a professor because my style in the classroom is like my same style when I am training. I am a coach. I believe in partnering with people and to empower them, to help them, and to either help develop skills or to help in terms of whatever that objective is, right? It's a partnership. So when I talk to students about, okay, now as we're letting go of, okay, well, the success in this class, Dr. Alston, is I want an A. Then it shifts to valuing the process, valuing what I'm hoping to gain, learning a new skill in this class. And I do something a little different. Not only do I bring in Carol Dweck, so Dr. Dweck's work, I also bring in the importance and the power of why. And understanding your why helps in terms of your goals. So I love that she shared it in terms of, the hack of the learning goal. And, instead of focusing so much on achievement, let the learning goal be of performance. And so I treasured that. As soon as I went through the article and I saw this, it made me immediately think of, wow, the orientation in my class. And because it's really been extremely successful in terms of having this orientation, giving students these really some, evidence-based strategies and, techniques and tools to be able to literally leverage and to add within their toolkit, right? It's great because it's about setting a person up for success, right? In terms of understanding the value of the journey of the journey. I remember when I was working on my PhD, and one of my mentors said to me, wow, I know this is a lot of work. And she has her PhD, and and I looked up to her, still look up to her. She's amazing. And I remember when she told me, while I was, really going through the PhD program, and I mean, it was rigorous and challenging. And, one moment she said this to me. And one moment when we were talking on the phone, she says, you know, enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. And I'm like, wow, enjoy the journey. And I treasured the fact that she shared that with me, because sometimes when we're going through challenges, it can be difficult, if not what challenging, right? To go through the challenge, to enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. So even though, yeah, it was extremely challenging, I still talk about some of the dynamics in terms of that, but it was so rewarding. It's made me develop in so many different ways. It continually, shifted levels in terms of, my knowledge base. And I loved every minute of, in terms of the process, in terms of that. And so I really treasured that she shared that with me in terms of enjoy the journey. And I love the dynamic of valuing the learning process, because hopefully along the way, you are enjoying the journey too. So let's look at her second hack. Well, actually, the second hack that she has in this article, I'm going to wait until the end because it leads in perfectly with my announcement. So can you hear the announcement? Can you hear, excuse me, the excitement in my voice? I am very excited. So I'll talk about that closer to the end. So let's go on to the next hack. All right. And that is make the goal about a challenge and not a threat. Make the goal a challenge and not a threat. I love this. So Dr. Wu shares that you don't want the goal based on intimidation. I mean, who wants that? Right? She says that you are less likely to achieve it, but basing it on a challenge is different. So these are her examples. So the one in terms of a threat, she shares this. If I don't decrease my blood pressure, I will likely have a heart attack. Think about that statement. That's Dr. Wu's threatening statement, right? So if I don't decrease my blood pressure, I will have a heart attack. So doesn't sound very motivating. It actually sounds, I feel like there's like some, it has this negative feeling for me, right? In terms of that dynamic. But I love what Dr. Wu shares in terms of the challenge statement. And this is it. I want to decrease my blood pressure so I can improve my quality of life. Now, that is a statement that literally makes me feel lighter. The threat literally felt like a weight. Remember I said it felt negative, but the challenge statement that she shares, I want to decrease my blood pressure so I can improve my quality of life. I literally feel a weight being lifted. Just even saying that, reading that in terms of the article and sharing that with you, opposed to the threat, in terms of talking about the heart attack and in terms of clearly the value is decreasing this person's blood pressure, right? But the challenge provides a more optimistic view of decreasing the person's blood pressure, and it will in turn, help improve, or better yet, enhance that person's life. Love that. Love that. Our third hack is sign a contract with someone. So, she poses a few questions for us to think about. Who have you told about your goal? Is one. Another one she shares is, how much of it, or in terms of how much of the goal have you shared in terms of the details of the goal? And she adds that doing this really speaks to a level of accountability, right? So Dr. Wu mentions a social contract, which I love. I love the idea of a social contract. And so, in terms of, that might be a person sharing it with a friend, or better yet, posting it online. I believe I read a few months ago, and I read an article about people sharing their, body transformation or weight transformation journeys on Instagram to kind of serve as a level of accountability. I was like, wow. First of all, I think it's wonderful. It's so courageous, because you're extremely vulnerable, sharing elements of your journey. I think anytime you're sharing elements of you, right? And I was like, wow, I would have never thought about how for some people Instagram is kind of like their accountability partner. And it's interesting because I follow a lot of people who are going through the transformation, and I noticed that so many of the sites that I have either followed or found because of, checking out that the hashtag, it might be, I think it's body transformation. I can't recall. But one of the things that really stood out were that I was like, wow, so many people have large audiences. So it must be, I wonder, it's not like I've done a content analysis and actually looked at each one of the accounts, but after reading that article, I thought, wow, that's great, because it says a lot about the community that they have created on their page to be able to share and to feel a level of accountability. And clearly they're inspiring so many people too. So, I love this idea of a social contract. And I love the idea of sharing it with a friend. I leverage this all the time. My friends and I are like each other's accountability partners for like everything and anything. And so I think it's wonderful to be able to share that with friends, and of course, your partner, right? My biggest cheerleader is my fiance. He is always in my ear, really cheering me on. And it's great because he's also my accountability partner. He say, hey, you know what about that thing you told me that you were going to do? And I'm like, oh, that's right. I supposed to do that, right? So it really is a wonderful win-win. She also added that we can take one step further by creating an actual contract, an actual physical contract. She shared that we can, incorporate things in terms of what we're committed to and how we're going to go about measuring the process, or really the progress that we're going to have along the way. And I'm like, wow, that's really a great idea too, because it gives you an idea of kind of maybe your timeline, right? But then on top of that, I think it's always great to be able to be intentional. It's one of the things that I share a lot in training individuals and executives, is writing it down, being intentional, creating that strategy. So I love the idea of actually creating a contract. It can be one as informal as a social contract, or one that's physical and that you've decided to craft and to create and to really encourage uh, for you in terms of your goals. So I love that. So our last hack says make sure the goal is attached to your life value. I love that. As soon as I read that, one of the things that really resonated with me was it to me speaks in terms of meaning and true fulfillment, because she says, make sure your goal is attached to your life value. So Dr. Wu asks these questions. How do you decide on your goals? Are you inspired by what your peers are doing? And are they set by an authority figure in your life? So literally we're understanding the level of, maybe the direction or the level of attachment. But she challenges us in this statement. So I'm going to quote her one more time and quote Dr. Wu. Here we go. Where your goals come from has a big impact on whether you'll achieve them. One place they could come from is your own life value. Wow. Where your goals come from has a big impact on whether you'll achieve them, right? She's right. She's so right. So she says values are not the same as goals. She goes, I can create, and well, in terms of, she's sharing in terms of the value of the level of creation, but I love that in terms of thinking about your values, thinking about your life values. And so I could relate to this, because when I think about the things in life that I have looked to achieve, it was really about sharing my values. So when Dr. Wu shared that, I go, wow, that really spoke to me. This podcast speaks to that. It's not only me sharing my knowledge and expertise, but sharing my world and sharing our world. Every time I check on the podcast and seeing the number of downloads, I get so super excited by seeing all of these different downloads from all over the world. I am so grateful that we are all connecting as relates to this podcast. And it's really about sharing, right? Sharing my world, as I mentioned, and really sharing our world. I will also say this. I've also enjoyed meeting people who are listening to the podcast, those who've reached out to me. I love it. I love it because it gives me an opportunity to see you as I'm sitting here talking to you guys right now. I visualize, and it's great to be able to see, some of the people who are listening. So if you're listening, I would love to get to know you too. Please reach out. And one of the reasons why the Courting Happiness, podcast community and Facebook is such a great group. And then also I've had people reach out to me on Instagram. So I love to meet you. So I have tried to really calm myself in terms of my level of excitement throughout this entire podcast. So I am just going to share the biggest social contract of all. I am announcing the launch of a dream come true, and that's the Courting Happiness membership site. Courting Happiness membership site. The wait list is now open, and this membership site is something that I have been thinking about and visualizing and working towards and crafting and developing and sharing it with others and continually evolving and growing it. And I am so happy to share it with you now. It's really about me creating a community that our will serve our world. It's our world, right? Our world. So the membership site is about leveling up your well-being. So I've enjoyed seeing this podcast grow. And I really enjoy being able, as I said earlier, meeting listeners. The Courting Happiness membership will help you live happier. It will help you in terms of understanding how to increase positive emotions. You would also get exclusive content. I will tell you that your self-care routine will thank you for choosing it because you're choosing you. You're choosing your well-being. You're choosing to, be intentional in terms of accomplishing your happiness goals. It might be from learning meaning or purpose, or really understanding the dynamics of, of a good well-being strategy for yourself. Right. Or it might also be, well, what we just shared earlier about goals. And maybe a happiness goal for you might be creating a business, might be in terms of thinking about promoting yourself at work, but thinking about your well-being along the way, right? It's so important that we think about our well-being. So this site is different because it's fueled by positive psychology. It's fueled by science. The membership community has 3 features: coaching, courses, and community. The coaching will be group coaching, where I'll share live coaching workshops and calls with members. The coursing dynamic, or the course dynamic, I should say, is where members will have access to courses. And the beauty is that founding members will have an opportunity to customize this experience for future members. And I'll share more about that in a moment. And the community element is just like this podcast. This community is about working and supporting each other and serving as cheerleaders. It's that positive community within a safe haven of this membership site. So the membership is open for founding members in terms of the wait list. That is, so being a member has its advantages. And being a founding member has its advantages because you will grow and work with me directly, as well as others within this incredible collective. You'll gain knowledge on positive psychology, and you'll give feedback to strengthen a community. So you will gain knowledge in terms of helping to meet your goals, helping to meet your happiness goals, helping in terms of well-being, and it much more in depth than what I can do during the podcast, right? Because during the podcast, we have limited time, but this is different. It's a level of visual components. It's also a level of being able to go through different courses and look at different content, be inspired by incredible people. Some of the interviews that I've had thus far on the show have been some of the most popular downloads from the Courting Happiness podcast. So I'm looking forward to having experts come in and share their expertise in the Courting Happiness membership site. So if you can kind of hear my voice in terms of the level of excitement, and I couldn't hold it in. I did hold it in, but it was so difficult for me to hold it in to get to this point of the show, because this has been something that has been a part of me for so long. And I am so super excited to share it with you. This, again, is a dream come true. I had a vision of creating this ultimate self-care squad to help you with your well-being. I hope you join the wait list. I'm looking forward to building this, and I'm looking forward to not only sharing it with you, but also hearing from you and being able to continue to provide information and be able to provide training, transformative training, with the members of our membership site. And I will say that it's been wonderful, over the past, gosh, almost a year now. Um, uh, in particularly working virtually because of the time that we're in, but being able to connect with people from all over the world virtually with training and that I've done or speaking, as well. And so I'm looking forward to creating a community, continually building the community in terms of helping individuals with their goals as it relates to well-being and as it relates to happiness, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, your happiness goals may be, trying to craft this reality or dream that you had, right? I'm sitting here thinking ahead about everything that we shared earlier, but it's about being in a place where you're going to be able to understand the value of your well-being and then understanding the importance of meaningful work and purpose along the way. Because meaningful work and purpose also helps fuel your well-being. So it all these dynamics go together. They go together. So I hope you join the wait list. I'm looking forward, again, like I said, building this. Seats are limited to founding members. So you can join the wait list. So when enrollment opens, and you can go and quickly register, to be a member of this community. You can join the wait list by going to my website. So go to drkortnialston.com/waitlist. So let me say it one more time without slipping. Go to drkortnialston.com/waitlist. So that's DRKORTNIALSTON/waitlist. All right. I will share more details, in terms of future podcasts, but join the wait list so you'll be the first to know when the doors open and the enrollment begins. Guys, it's been a pleasure being able to speak and to speak with you today and to talk about really the value of goals, the value of, being able to really align with our life values, and also really the value of sharing the dream that's now come true, which is the Courting Happiness membership site. Let's continue this conversation online. Join us on Instagram at Courting Happiness. Don't forget, that's courting with a K. Also, I hope you join our private group on Facebook. You'll find us at Courting Happiness Podcast Community. Our private Facebook community is a safe haven to share, meet more people looking to build positive relationships, focus on well-being, and create a happier life. Now, are you ready to spread happiness? We hope you subscribe and share this podcast with your family, friends, coworkers, and all the important people in your world. We release a new episode every Thursday. Congratulations on your continued commitment to your courting happiness journey. Thank you so much for listening. We want you to be well, be happier, and be kinder to yourself. We can't wait to see you next week.